Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Policy Wall of ORF Middle East. I'm Esther Karachony, Associate Fellow in Geopolitics at ORF Middle East, and I'm pleased to be joined by Monsieur Gérard Mestralet, Special Envoy of the French President for IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor project. Monsieur Mestralet, you have been appointed by President Macron to this position in November 2023, soon after the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding on the IMEC connectivity project on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi, India, in September 2023. You are a prominent figure of the French private sector who got to know the region of the Middle East well through various lenses, whether it's economic collaboration, investment, tourism, or cultural cooperation. You served as executive chairman of the French Agency for the Cultural and Tourism Development Cooperation Project, ALULA, in Saudi Arabia. Previously, for more than 20 years, you had held the position of chairman and CEO of GDF Suez, now known as ENGIE. Monsieur Mestralet, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
We're happy to have you. And maybe just a brief introduction before we tackle the questions. In an era when geopolitical competition and geoeconomic fragmentation reshape interstate relations, we are keen on gaining a deeper understanding of France's viewpoint on IMEC, this multi-regional and multi-modal connectivity project linking the Mediterranean to the Indo-Pacific. Therefore, to start our discussion, please allow me to ask, from France's point of view, what are the defining features of the IMEC corridor and what advantages could it bring to the signatory countries?
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very pleased to speak for the ORF people, which is very, very important, and congratulations for what you are doing. Yes, IMEC is very important for France, and President Macron has been among the first to be among the signatories, and then the first to appoint a special envoy. IMEC, of course, is a link between three continents: India, the Middle East, and Europe. And France has had historical links with the two continents outside Europe through the Mediterranean, Indo-Pacific regions. France, of course, has had in Mediterranean an historical presence in North Africa, but also in East Mediterranean part of the world, in the Middle East also, and in the Pacific and Indo-Pacific. Good relationships with India and Indo-China presence, a presence in the Pacific region with the Tahiti, with Neo Caledonian. So IMEC is a kind of materialization of this relationship, because IMEC has the objective to increase the trade relationships between India, Middle East, and Europe, transport of goods, but also transport of energy, hydrogen, power, green electricity, and also the transport of digital data. And so France, by participating to the IMEC project and with a clear dynamic ambition, France wants to secure its value chains and the supply chains by a diversification, securing the chains, and therefore increasing its strategic autonomy. And so we are strongly in favor of this project, which is one of the most important infrastructure projects of the 21st century. Of course, not an easy one because of the geostrategic situation, which is a difficult situation today. But nevertheless, what we have observed is a willingness of all the participants to push the project, to work on it, to discuss on a bilateral field initially, but now the discussion on a multilateral with a collective dialogue has been launched. We, France, took the initiative to gather on a VTC meeting in May all the representatives of the chief of states. And that was the first collective initiative taken. And now other initiatives will follow. And I'm very pleased by that.
So much. Thank you for this clear overview. And also when it comes to explaining to us what this project really means to France, or also from a geopolitical and geoeconomic point of view. I was wondering, because usually we hear and we understand that we have the signatory countries, and we imagine this project also on the map as a linear project. But I was also wondering, how might countries not directly located along its routes, for instance, within the European Union, benefit from this project, for instance, in Central and Eastern Europe? Can it be considered as a wider network project, or would it be rather just a linear one?
No, clearly it will not be a linear project. It will be a network. Look simply the starting point and the end point. In India, the starting point will be composed of several ports, at least 3 ports: the Mumbai port, the Mundra port, and the Vadhavan port, which is under construction. And so there is not already only one starting point in India. That's the same at the end point in Europe. By the way, the goods will not go one single way. They will go also from Europe to Middle East and India. Nevertheless, in Europe, we have several big ports. I could mention Marseille, of course, but also Trieste, but also the port of Athens, Piraeus. And so at least 3 ports at the origin, 3 ports at the end, and in the middle also. Of course, Haifa is the privileged path, because this is the willingness of the initial signatories, and Israel is mentioned, like Jordan, in the initial agreement. Nevertheless, it would be also wise to secure the track by having alternative routes. And of course, in our mind, one possible route goes through Egypt, where several ports also could be envisaged. Alexandria, Port Said, or Damietta. So this possible alternative route would go to the south of the central track through Jordan and Haifa. But we could also go to the north and envisage also Lebanon. Why not Lebanon with Beirut or Tripoli? So clearly, this will be a network. And I could also develop differently. The first leg, there's 3 legs. One maritime first, from India to Middle East, a land, terrestrial leg, crossing over the Arabic Peninsula to the Mediterranean Sea. So several exits to the access to the Mediterranean Sea. I mentioned Haifa, Egyptian port, Lebanese port, but also on the southeast of the Arabic Peninsula, you have Jebel Ali, you have the port of Abu Dhabi, the Dammam port in Saudi Arabia, all those ports, which are very modern and dynamic, but they are in the Gulf. And so from India to have access to those ports, you have to go through the Strait of Hormuz. If you want to avoid it, you can put on the map also the Fujairah port or some ports of Oman, like the port of Sohar, for example. So you see at least 3 ports in India, perhaps 5 ports to have access to the Arabic Peninsula, several ports to have access to the Mediterranean Sea, and then at least 3 ports in Europe. So it will be a network. That will be the vision that we should have. And the better the infrastructure will be, the better the market will select the best route for them. The best route will be the cheaper, the quicker, and the safer.
Thank you. It is clear indeed how you explain. We can see in front of our virtual eyes on the map the network you just designed virtually. I was also wondering, you mentioned and you referred to some ongoing geopolitical tensions. So I was wondering, in what ways can the project's implementation at this stage, and also in the near future and in the mid and long term, overcome current geopolitical tensions? And how can it be designed in a way to withstand future geopolitical challenges? How can IMEC be resistant and resilient despite of the geopolitical landscape?
Because technically, the more there will be options for the market, for the shippers, the more IMEC will resist to the tensions. Because if there is a tension in Hormuz, we will offer some routes avoiding the Hormuz. If there is a tension in Bab al-Mandab, we could offer alternative route, bypassing the Bab al-Mandab Strait. And so the multiple options will make the IMEC as a whole safer and therefore more efficient. That's the first thing. Secondly, the vision we have for this project is not simply the vision of I would say passive infrastructure, a railway, a pipe, or cables. This project should irrigate the region crossed, the hinterland, with jobs, with activities, with prosperity. That will be the case, and of course around the ports, but this has to be also the case for the region crossed by the railways or crossed by the pipes or the cables. That's an element. And if one day there is the peace, IMEC should be considered as one of the projects of the day after, and perhaps as the project of the day after, because irrigating the hinterland of Haifa, if all the countries which are involved in the war today, but if they, and I hope as soon as possible, will decide to work on positive projects and be all gathered around the table, IMEC could offer the possibility to create through its infrastructures prosperity around Haifa, around South Lebanon, around part of Syria, around the Palestine, and all the countries around. So this project can be worked, designed through its various options already now, even during the war. But on top of that, it should be considered as the best project for the day after. That's my conviction.
You actually also partially covered my next question regarding the day after that you mentioned, and the potential of this project as a catalyst for prosperity and tightened economic cooperation. So I was wondering, to what extent is this project indeed seen as a lever for stability and peace in the Middle East by the signatory countries, and of course by other countries from the region, but also of course from the European Union?
I don't know if it is a lever for the peace. I'm absolutely sure that it will be a mean after the peace for the reconstruction, rebuilding not only the infrastructure but rebuilding the links and political relationship between all the countries of the regions. Of course, perhaps it could be seen by someone as such a potential benefit for everyone if there is a ceasefire and a peace, that perhaps it could have some impact on the final decision. I'm not sure it will be the key factor of decision, but perhaps it could be an element of the decision. But in any case, it is a project for peace.
Thank you. It is very clear. Also, in concrete terms, we were wondering what could be the project's projected timeline for the implementation, and from France's and potentially, of course, from the EU's point of view, what kind of governance structure could be envisaged to support the project and its long-term viability?
First of all, I would say that this project has already started. For example, if I take the first leg between India and the Emirates, there has been a bilateral dialogue, and France has been also associated to this dialogue in a trilateral dialogue. But the work which has been done, the precise work between India and the Emirates, is very positive. Very positive. They have created a virtual trade corridor with very positive analysis and realizations on the administrative part of the transactions and the trade between the two countries, and this is a kind of model for the rest of the corridor. So it is, some work has been done. The modernization of the port of Marseille is in progress. Marseille is already, for example, one of the most important hub, the number 6 in the world for the digital data transmission, with many cables arriving in Marseille for the rest of Europe. And Trieste also is investing, and so we can say that IMEC is not starting from zero. Someone could say also that the trade between India, Middle East, with the caravans, and Europe, the trade, the relationship have been existing has been a reality for 2 millennia already. But if we come to the present, works have been done. The IMEC will accelerate, facilitate, and I hope create brand new infrastructure investment which are not already decided by some countries, and therefore boost the trade, boost the relationship between India, Middle East, and Europe. So, of course, the peace in the Middle East would accelerate the IMEC, but all the participants consider that we should not wait for the peace to make progress. Make progress first by organizing the governance. I will come back. Launch pre-feasibility or feasibility studies on the infrastructures, on the railways, on the pipes, on the cables, where should be position the infrastructures. So the work has to be done, and it has been done collectively. That is why France took the initiative to gather the representative of the different countries. Normally, we should very soon have a more formal organization, a collective organization. So some Sherpas or special envoy should be identified for the 8 initial signatories. We should also later on discuss on how to launch the studies, feasibility studies collectively, how establish relationship with countries which are not among the initial signatories, but of course involved. You know, I mentioned the Egypt, Jordan, Israel, for example, but others, Greece, Cyprus, and others would like to be involved, and so this will be discussed collectively within the 8 initial signatories. So progress also is made. I mentioned the bilateral action between India and the Emirates. I should also mention what the Europeans are doing now. You know that a meeting took place last week in Brussels between the 2 Directions Générales for international partnerships and for Middle East, North Africa, with representative of Germany, Italy, and France. And we have decided to exchange information and also to support very strongly the IMEC, and also to present a coordinated approach between European countries. And so things are progressing. There will be also very soon a forum organized in Saudi Arabia, not specifically on IMEC, but on connectivity between the Middle East and Europe with the private sector. The idea of the Saudi Arabia is to push the private sector. That's a very good idea. By the way, we have already in France mobilized 3 times the French private companies, but this should be, because we were alone for some time. Now we are no longer alone, and so a more international approach of the private sector can be done. Saudi Arabia took an initiative which is very good for IMEC, and we support this initiative. It will take place in 4 days. It's a forum on connectivity. And so, in spite of a very difficult, in spite of local tension in these regions, we consider that things are moving. And I will also mention the fact that the USA are present. USA are supporting the IMEC. There is a representative of the president who was present during the meeting, the VTC meeting, and I have just this morning a phone call with him. It's Mr. Ricky Gittil, and the support of the US is, of course, of the utmost importance for the IMEC. The US have been at the initially very strong initiator and supportive of the IMEC.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your follow-up with the upcoming events that you also mentioned. We will closely monitor them as well to see how the project unfolds. One last question before we conclude. You partially mentioned Marseille and Marseille's potential, but I was also wondering, what are the unique characteristics of the connectivity hubs that can serve as entry and exit points for IMEC within Europe? So to say, what is the criteria to become an IMEC port in your eyes?
Because, as you know, IMEC is focused on transport of goods mainly by containers, transport of energy, and transport of data. So when I take a port like Marseille is a very significant port for goods, because when they arrive in Marseille, they can use the Rhone Valley by train or by trucks, by the way, and give access to Paris, to Lyon, Paris, north of France, and also through UK, through the Channel Tunnel. So that's important, and Marseille is improving its infrastructures in that field. The second aspect is where Marseille is much more well placed is energy. Marseille has been historically a place where the natural gas was coming, initially with one LNG terminal for the gas coming from Algeria, then a second very big LNG terminal, which was the largest in Europe for some time. Both of them are in Marseille Fourth Port, and with the evolution of the energy strategy, Marseille will become a hub also for green hydrogen. Marseille will have infrastructures to welcome green hydrogen coming by ship under the form of green ammonia from the Middle East or from India, but also from Morocco, and therefore will be a clear hub of green energy. Let me also mention that IMEC will be the most important corridor for green hydrogen, because it will connect the most important production regions, Middle East and India, with the most important consumer zone, Europe. That will be IMEC. And so IMEC will be, among other things, a green hydrogen corridor, very important. And Marseille, for hydrogen, will be the place where most of this hydrogen will come and irrigate Europe. The last point I already mentioned is the connectivity, data connectivity. Marseille is already the sixth, the hub in the world, and one of the most important, if not the most important, in Europe, because many cables coming from India through the Red Sea and Egypt, and then the Mediterranean, arrived at Marseille to distribute the data to all Europe. And of course, the growth of the demand for data, digital data transmission is very, very strong, growing at a double-digit pace. And so Marseille will continue to play a key role in this matter. So, of course, we will, the objective is to develop each port of IMEC with the transport of containers, transport of green hydrogen or power, green power, and transport of digital data. But we have to keep in mind that having made all these investments to improve the quality and the size and the capacity of the ports, at the end, it will be the market will be choose. It will not be the government, will not be the chief of state, which will decide. The market will decide what is the best route, the cheapest route, the safest route. And so the role we have is to offer to the market forces multiple options for them to have at every time the best route to connect India, the Middle East, and Europe.
Monsieur Mestralet, thank you so much for being with us today to help us better understand the IMEC project, also its potential from France's point of view. Thank you for your time and thank you for these insights.
Thank you very much.